Okay, today's video we're talking about broadmatch keywords, why they're pretty much death, or death to your PPC campaigns and to your money that you would have to invest into your PPC campaigns. If you don't know what you're doing when you use them, for all practical purposes, you don't need to use them at all. There's better ways to add, if you're trying to get more clicks, that are not going to lose you money. And in general, very, very, very little use for actual broadmatch keywords due to the potential for delivering a good return on your PPC campaigns. So I'm going to go on in this video explain why you're not going to get good returns generally with it, why I don't use it, and then also what are the alternatives so you don't have to resort to using the broadmatch keywords to be able to make more money with your PPC campaigns and just get overall more volume from your PPC ads in your niche. Of course, if you're using broadmatch now, you'll greatly be able to increase the ROI of your campaigns right away. First, if you stop using that, which I'm going to explain about how much you can expect from that, and then as you build it back up, how you could replace the spend with stuff that's working. So essentially, if you're using broadmatch now, literally 3 to 5x the amount of money you're making on the exact same ad spend that you have right now. Okay? And it's really that simple. So anyway, first of all, broadmatch has been around, broadmatch keywords have been around, or keyword match types, broadmatch keyword match types have been around a long time. Basically as long as Google Ads has been around or Bing Ads has been around, they've had broadmatch. And it's always been in two forms up at least until as of late, 2020 to 2021. I forgot the exact date, but they got rid of the second type of quote-unquote the broadmatch keywords. So the first type was always the regular broadmatch. That was when you had the keyword that you're bidding on by itself with no quotes around it or brackets around it. And that modified broadmatch which is where we had the keyword and you had plus signs in front of, it could have been one word or multiple words, which was actually quite useful. And I used it quite often. But the regular broadmatch with no brackets or quotes around it, that was the terrible one. Always and still to this day, you can do regular broadmatch, and still to this day it is terrible. Respectively, total novices, most of the time they don't make money is because they don't even understand keyword match types. They go bid on their keywords thinking, okay, this makes sense. It's on broadmatch. The money is gone in like 2 milliseconds, right? You fell for that. Lots of people fall for that. Not to say, don't kill me, Google, but basically, it would make more sense to have a safety around doing PPC if the broadmatch actually had to do something to get broadmatch, because it's the least needed thing out of the keyword match types. At least if you're wanting to make money, okay? After your expenses, after your ad costs, still have money left over. So 100% of the time in the last 10 years of PPC, doing PPC, I've never, and I mean I'm talking in absolutes here, never used regular broadmatch due to the extremely low value that it creates for our ability to make a return from our PPC campaigns at a level of ROI that's going to pay for the ads either right away or through the repeat purchases people make from the ads that we have. I started PPC about 15 years ago, way back. I did do a little bit of, when I ran e-commerce myself for a couple sites that I owned at the time, regular broadmatch, because the keywords were so much cheaper. As you know, the cost has went up over the years. It's slowly crept its way up 5 to 10% a year, or around there. I would say more so closer to 10%. It's kind of hit its roof as far as I found now. They can't raise it anymore without people dropping off. So there's other things Google's doing to raise more money and have their stock go higher. Used to be what it was cost 10 cents a click in 2007. It is now 70 cents a click, or what have you, or thereof, something similar to that. So even if it's so inefficient But back then, and there was less competition overall, a lot less people who knew how to make a website. So there was a third of the competition. The ad cost per click was about a fifth of the price. So basically it was 15 times more profitable than it is today by default. The broad match actually made sense. And then it started to get more expensive, more competition was out there. And then I stopped doing it around 2010 at that time. Still to this day I don't do it. So just recently I had somebody come to me and they were trying to have me help them on their campaigns. So they were in the cash for junk cars space. Basically what had happened was, they had hired somebody that started to use broadmatch for them. So they didn't know even about broadmatch because they had an ad management firm, and they were kind of in a panic because their ads for a while were not doing the best, but they were okay, and they wanted, I guess, get more clicks. And that person, same person, said that they started getting all kinds of calls from people who were looking for junkyards or used cars. And so they came to me and was saying, I want to hire you. I'm not getting an ROI here, but I have a ton of calls from people looking for auto parts. And looked at the account, and there's a bunch of broad match keywords in there. And it wasn't all broad match keywords, by the way. It was just a small portion. 10-20% of the account had broad match keywords, but that 10 to 20% was eating up 2/3 of the budget. And of that 2/3 of the budget, basically nothing was relevant, or such a small percentage is basically negligible or nothing. And so they were spending 5 figures a month on ads. 2/3 of that spend was total, they were burning it. It was coming, because the broad match keywords will spend heavy because they're the most liberal in terms of what kind of searches your ads will show up for. In reality, is the search generally related to the keyword? Okay, we'll have the ad show up. And then with that, it'll really start to go nuts because it'll learn how to have the ad show up for something, and then all of a sudden it'll show up for that from now on. And then, as it gets going, it picks up speed. So you might not even notice right away it's as bad as it is. Eventually, it'll eat up a bigger and bigger chunk of your budget to the point where almost all of your budget be eaten up by that, respectively. So I've seen similar stuff to that before, but this was recently, and this is a particularly egregious situation, and why I also wanted to kind of stimulated my decision, and why I wanted to make a video just about broad match so people don't get caught by this in the future. But respectively, for me to be able to say triple your results, I can do that in a week, literally speaking, was easy because all I had to do is shut off their broad match keywords. And then voila. Well, it wasn't quite that simple. We had to shut off those keywords, and then that brought their $50,000 a month in spend to $15,000 a month in spend, keeping the third of the account that was actually doing something useful, the non-broad match keywords. So we had to fill the gap on spending the other $35K to be able to actually triple the amount of money that their ads were making. But with that, and if you're in that situation, and so you need to be able to have more volume, you tried to have broad match keywords, then what you do is you get into doing you do things to leverage the amount of click-through rate on the keywords that you have. So if you have leftover now only broad match or phrase match, with the quotes around the keyword, or exact match with the brackets, most people, so don't feel bad if you're not doing this, about 90% of people don't do if you watch my other videos, you would know this, the strategy where you take an ad group and you only put one keyword in that ad group. Why? So you can have an ad that you can handwrite for that keyword. You can look at what they typed in. In this particular situation, cash for junk trucks, not cash for junk cars. The business is you have an old beater car or whatever, and then you call the business up, and then they pick it up in 2 seconds and pay you, too junky to go to like a used car dealer, basically. And so with that, you have all these keywords, right? Well, instead of taking an ad group and putting in like cash for cash for cars, cash for junk cars, cash for wrecked cars, all that stuff. You make an ad group for each one of those keywords. So if they type in cash for wrecked cars, or cash for cars with no title, cash for wrecked cars will go have its own ad group. We'll have it in phrase match, not brand match here. And then the ad will say at the first headline, cash for wrecked cars. So that in the top of Google, you see 4 ads there. When somebody types in cash for wrecked cars, they're naturally just going to click on yours. That right there, just having the ad match the keyword on a one-to-one basis like that every single time, when your competition's too lazy to do it, will double the click-through, roughly speaking. If you double the click-through, obviously, that goes a long way with just replacing the budget. That was the main thing we did there. But you should be doing this stuff anyway. Of course, on top of that, in that situation, cash for wrecked cars, now we have the ability now, because we did the initial work of doing 1 keyword per ad group, we can send them to a landing page where I can take the headline on the landing page. Instead of saying cash for junk cars, I can say on the landing page cash for wrecked cars instead. So the ad and the landing page headline all matches up. And just by doing that to the landing page, as trivial as this sounds, you'll get another 40-50% conversion rate on that landing page. So respectively, to be able to, so you get even more benefit from this. And yes, it takes time to do this, but in terms of what you gain, it's literally nothing. You just do 1 or 2, have one of your lackeys actually put all the campaigns together, if you will, there at your company, and then you're making a ton more money. So part of what in terms of filling in the gaps and what the broad match did for you, you won't even have to spend what you were spending before, and you'll be able to generate the amount of leads you want, because you're going to get another 50% more conversion rate on every keyword, or on your account in general, because you have a landing page that matches the keyword each time in the headline there, and then your ad matches the keyword as well. So you have much higher click-through rate. In terms of your market, there's only so many people searching at any given time. That's an easy way to basically right away double the amount of potential you can get, and then of course after you've doubled it, be able to get more business even yet on that same amount of ad spend, if you will, after you already double the click-through and double the amount of volume you can get. So in general, that's your immediate step forward that any basic person should do if they're using broad match, canceling or pausing the broad match keywords, and then filling in, to be able to now expand the amount of searches and customers or clients you can get, because you still have that demand and you need to do that. Respectively, as the last thing I'll say about that as well, be able to make up for lost spend there. Your broad match keywords, it's not the money that you spend on the broad match keywords is not all a waste. There'll be a bunch, if you go into the search terms report and you just look at what searches generated an ad click on those broad match keywords, because you can click on the broad match keyword, and then you can, on the keywords menu, then you can click on Google, it'll say show search terms, show related search terms above it in the navigation menu directly above it, and it'll show you what the users physically typed in that had the ad show up for that exact broad match keyword. So individually on just each broad match keyword by itself, you can see all the things people typed in to be able that from that one exact keyword, that broad match keyword. So with that though, you can do that on each broad match keyword you had, and it'll give you, a lot of it'll be junk, most of it'll be junk, but there'll be a few ideas there that'll give you ideas on how you can actually put more keywords in the account that are like outside the realm of basically what you were doing before, because you didn't think of it. In other words, it's just another way to do keyword research. So in order to fill the gaps even more, that's what we did. Took advantage of the data that's there. Even though we had a lot of keywords, we can find people that were searching in ways that just you would not have otherwise thought of. And then you can have those as keywords itself. And even though it wouldn't have been profitable to do what they were doing before, if you just cherry pick out the 5% of searches, ideas that you have in there, that's another way to expand also what you're doing. Get more clicks and then also get more volume without having the ROI of your, what you're doing there go down past a point in which it's profitable to you even do in the first place. In general, if you're curious about what this broadmatch actually does, here's an example from the electrical services. Like if you're going to hire an electrician to fix a plug-in at your house or at your business, you need a light fixture fixed or whatever. If you were in that business and you had actually typed in electrician services LA, okay, if it's in regular broadmatch without the quotes or the brackets around it, what you're actually going to have is, like I said, it's general ideas. It's not, is the keyword itself that you're bidding on there going to be what they have to type in? It can have absolutely nothing to do with the keyword, really. For example, we had somebody who had the keyword in broadmatch electrician services LA. In terms of what was actually having the ad show up, the people searches that the ad showed up for people that were typing electrician jobs LA were having the ad show up, which obviously that in itself is worthless. But not only that, there's a whole crap load of people looking for jobs that were eating up their budget, to where that lost them a ton of money. Just in itself, that one little general pocket of possible searches out there in the space that's out of all the people searching for electrician this or that, 5% or 10% of that whole entire in the general whole niche and realm of electrician stuff itself, people are just looking for jobs. And now that broadmatch keyword, even if you had one, is having your ad show up for every person who's looking for a job now locally, and then now you're just, all of them are going to click on yours that are searching for that. Another example of this keyword, electrician services LA, that generated ad opportunities for the ad to show up for, were also for people looking for tools, electrician, lineman, pliers, stuff like that. So it could be certain equipment, of course, anything, electricians need certain supplies in order to do their work. So obviously somebody who's looking for clients that have a broken plug-in or a light fixture or something, that's all ways too. So you get the general idea through these two examples, and these are just two examples. There's a bunch more of how broad broadmatch actually is. Respectively, more of you'll find if you do this yourself, definitely I should say, more people that are irrelevant than relevant will be having your ad will show up for, and therefore it makes it real hard to be profitable, to the point where I don't care how profitable your business is, broadmatch isn't going to work. Why? Because like I said at the start of the video, like 90% of the searches will be irrelevant. So unless you got like a 50-to-1 ROI already on your campaigns, broadmatch is not going to help you. It's going to eat up. There's so much waste in there. The few customers or clients that you do get, they'll just be priced so high that it's not, you're not going to be able to afford doing it after all your expenses. And that same keyword, electrician services LA, if you put in phrase match with the quotes around it, instead of just having no quotes or nothing around that keyword itself at all, generated searches more so like this: electrician firm in Los Angeles, electrician inspection services in Los Angeles, keywords like that. And so you always will get some waste on phrase match still, especially now because the phrase match, if you weren't aware, acts more like this modified broad match. They got rid of modified broad match. Now phrase match is really the new modified broad match. So you should definitely be aware of that. And so if you're looking, you should always go into any PPC campaign knowing your numbers. Shocks me how few people know their numbers that are in business. You got to know going in what a customer's worth, how many leads it takes to get a customer. And if you don't know it, you find out as soon as possible after you start the campaigns. And then therefore what you can pay for a phone call or a contact form fill. Or if you're doing e-commerce, what you can pay for initial customer acquisition, knowing that they're going to be buying X number of things from you in the next 2 years to find out their real value or what have you. And you got to boil it down to a cost per call, cost per form fill. Usually I combine cost per call or cost per form fill into one number, or cost per sale, or certain amount of revenue I need to generate per dollar in ad spend, okay, for like e-commerce. And because you know you've already done the math and you know you're sustainable at that number, and then if you hit that number you can also scale. Most of the value, even wasting your time to do PPC, is getting into a position where you know you have your number and now you can scale. You may not scale quickly, but you can scale the profit, take part of your profit of what you've got there into a little bit more ad spend, and then a little bit more all the time, and that's how you build up really huge multi-million-dollar ad account for yourself through that process. If you know, though, for like the electrician company, they knew they had to have a lead for $60 a call to really be sustainable and to scale, like I was saying. If the phrase match is not getting you $60 a call, okay, the easiest way for you to be able to get better results is to not do phrase match anymore, do exact match. A lot of times when I'm in a local service context, there's only so much pie out there. If you're doing it, finding clients initially for like sales training services, there's a lot more people searching in general, because we can go nationwide, something that can be done on the phone, or if it can be done on the phone. Volume is not so much a problem, but like for a local service like that, there's only so much good traffic to get. So a lot of times, instead of just running exact match, which I know is the most efficient by nature, if I'm not sure if I can get enough, I'll start out by running the phrase match and exact match. You could just do exact match and then add phrase match later on if you're more careful. But usually I want to save time. The client's got to pay so much to even hire us in the first place. We'll run phrase match and exact match at the same time. And then at the cost per conversion, after a few other tricks we use to initially button things up and get things efficient, after like 6 weeks or 4 weeks, if we're nowhere close to the number that we know we have to get for the client up front, and which we do in the proposal process with our client and force them to know what their number is, and so we know what the number is. If we're needing 60 and we're like on 150 after a month, we won't just keep beating our head against the wall. We'll quickly switch to exact match. Why? Because that'll probably bring it closer to 60 right away, because it makes that big of a difference in a heck of a lot of situations. And actually what you can do is you can run phrase match and exact match, and then in your keyword menu, you obviously have to have tracking set up to begin with. So not only do you need to know your number starting in, so you know when you're winning, what you need for cost per lead, whatever. You need your tracking set up, of course, so you know what your cost per lead is at all times, and you have to do that before you start, because part of the value of doing PPC is seeing what worked, what didn't work, and where you're at. So if you're not where you need to be, you can use the data to shut off the parts that didn't work, so you have the stuff that will actually produce the ROI that you want. But if we're doing phrase match and exact match together, then on the keywords menu I can click filter and then just filter out all phrase match, so I can quickly see, okay, just exact match by itself throughout the whole account produced this cost per lead, phrase match produced this cost per lead. And therefore, if I shut off all the phrase match, instead of $150 a lead, we'll be at $70 a lead right away. So therefore, and do I think and so the client only has so much time in which they can lose money to get things up and going. They don't have a year. So we'll usually shut off the exact match. Now you can always obviously go back to phrase match. There's nothing to say that has to be your final decision, but that can be a way to limit the amount of time the amount of money that it requires you to get a campaign off the ground. Because everything is about getting things to your number or profitable as quickly as possible, because once you do that, it's all a downhill slide. Using your data, you can make it more and more profitable, of course, and then you can scale, like I said. But you're not going to, once you get to where you're profitable, obviously you're going to know this is a long-term, multi-year thing that you're going to have that's going to generate a heck of a lot of money for you. Whereas the only time it's not going to work if you don't get to your number quick enough, because you're going to run out of money to actually physically to put into it. So a lot of times just switching to exact match can be a way to get to your number quicker, so you know you're at least going to be in the game. And then after a while, if you want to actually really expand, well, I gave you the strategies about 1 keyword per ad group and all that other stuff. But to expand, you can take your top producing keywords in exact match and turn the phrase match ones back on. Similar to that, instead of just going to all exact match, like I said, you can find the phrase match keywords that converted at your number or better, or close, reactivate those, or keep them activated. Or the next step after that would be any phrase match keyword that converted at all, and turn those back on. Or you could find the exact top producing exact match keywords, and even though the phrase match equivalent didn't work, you turn it back on. And because you have so many more negative keywords already, and because you've done a little bit more split testing on your landing page, those free phrase match keywords may actually work for you now. A lot of times when I'm building up multi-million-dollar a year ad campaigns for a client, we work on our PPC. You should never just think about things in a vacuum. We go to work on the landing page because that's where the next lowest hanging fruit thing is to do at the time. Then we get so far with that, and then we're starting to struggle to improve that. Then we go back to our ad campaigns and we start to improve that again. And at a certain point, we struggle with that. And so now we go back to maybe we do something for somebody after they become a lead to get them to close at a higher rate, remarketing ads, and use that to improve the overall system that we have of turning ad money into a client. And then once we've gotten so much better at closing, now we can work on our PPC ads. Things that did not work before now work. So there's a lot of different combinations there to be able to replace broad match and still get volume, or get as much volume as you can. And respectively, even if you don't have all the volume you can, the next best thing to do is just to work on your landing page, of which I have a video coming up that's going to tell you exactly how to split test a landing page that you're using for your PPC campaigns, whether you're e-commerce or non-e-commerce. You both have there's a list of 5 things in either case you easily can do. That'll easily 2x or more how much you're earning on a single ad dollar or click, and then go back to your ad campaigns, try a few more keywords that weren't quite as meeting the mark you needed it to before, and now certainly because you doubled the conversion rate, you have a heck of a lot more chance to get keywords that were at least close to now that work. So if you improve a landing page, your campaigns have that much more potential. So you actually, by improving a landing page, you earn 2 ways there. Because of that exact reason. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. If you like to, or want to make millions of dollars in PPC for your company, you should check a lot of those videos out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns the way that I build them for our clients to guarantee the results. If you like information along those lines and formatted that way, you can find it there. If you have any questions about broad match, anything you think I should have covered about this and didn't, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel within a day or 2 time. And though I hope you enjoyed the video, got a lot of value out of it, and good luck to you. See you on the next one.